Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review. And in this indie comic review, I'll be reviewing Berzerker by Matt Kindt and Keanu Reeves, and Joy Operations by Brian Michael Bendis. If these two were against each other, I think you'd be surprised who would end up winning. So, jumping in to the first comic that will be reviewed, and that is Berzerker, issue 7. And first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? In some instances it does, to which I give the cover a 6.5 out of 10. I'll now show some of the art around the beginning, middle and end of the story before I give its rating. But we'll also get to cover some of the things that are happening inside of the story. So here is some art around the beginning of the story. And we do get quite a number of dates showing up in this. And as we jump towards the middle of the story, it seems that one of the doctors or archaeologists has also found something that actually connects to the character of Unute here, or B. And you learn that that is actually a piece of his finger, to which he's actually done some scientific research on. And last but not least, towards the end, to which we move into a bit of a foreground of a war. Alright, and going through the art from the beginning, from the art around the beginning, middle and end, I decided to give it a rating of 7 out of 10. But how did things go in regards to the story and its rating? Well, let's jump into first things first. Did we get any comic references to any of the previous comics? No, we didn't. And did it affect the score? I'm afraid it did. In the area of time, oh my goodness, this bloody jumped all over the fucking place. We had 1 week ago, 2010, 1844, 1941, 1700, 1469, 750 to 220 BC. Jumping into the area of locations, we had Russia and one other place. And in regards to the cast of characters, I could only make out one, and that was the main character. There was no way to identify the character that Unute was talking to, and I'm afraid if there were any other cast of characters, they weren't in any way identified very easily. To which this issue, I'm afraid it gets a very big drop, especially in relation to the story rating, where this was getting, I think, some sevens in the story rating. I'm afraid it's dropped to a 5. I was really hoping this would have been good, but I think some of the things that are in this story are also destroying the story's rating. There needs to be some consistency, and there's just some areas where it's lacking consistency. And this is why it leads to my decision that I don't think I'll be reviewing any more of this on the channel. I'll still be purchasing it, but I probably won't be reviewing any more of Berzerker on the channel. So 5 out of 10 for the story. It's now time to move on to Joy Operations. So now it's time to jump into Brian Michael Bendis' Joy Operations. And jumping into first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside the story? Surprisingly, it does, and I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Now, I think this is pretty high for a Bendis rating in regards, or close to a high rating in some of the stuff that I've reviewed Bendis-wise. At least it's not his DC stuff, which can be a lot of miss and very few hits in regards to good stories. Well, now it's time to jump into looking into the internal art as well as some of the things that are happening within the story. And we'll have a look at the stuff around the beginning, middle and the end. And as we jump towards the middle, we have Hampton giving a lot of dialogue to Joy as she is actually in the area of the Peachtree Trust. As we jump towards the middle of the story, the head of the Genondo Trust has basically ordered an executioner or someone to get Joy back for Catherine. And my guess is that this person also comes from like another trust. Even though it's not very clear, it just gives me that somewhat impression that they do. And last but not least, as things move forward, Joy has been captured by this supposed assassin. I must admit, Stephen Byrne has been doing some incredible artwork in this. The beginning, middle and end get an 8 out of 10 from me. And it's absolutely incredible. So let's move on in regards to the area of the story. So first things first, did we get any references? No, we didn't. But did it affect the story? We'll soon find out. Moving into the next thing, time. Did we get any indication of when some of these things were taking place time-wise? No, we didn't, though it still wouldn't hurt the story. Moving into the area of locations, we had the Peachtree Trust, to which at the Peachtree Trust, Joy, still with Hampton somewhat guiding her, ends up going to a base there, a base of operations that's seeking down to get the Genondo Trust down. And the cast of characters consisting of Joy, Hampton, who's still doing the very big dialogue, but I think for the character it works. Then we have Ritz. We have Forward Kane, Dr. Schlobel. We also had Catherine and Hatamoto. And that was the guy dressed up in the somewhat samurai gear. For the overall story rating, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.